Hello and welcome to SATV's International Affairs. My name is Rashid Kanchan. I will be your host. There are so many breaking news. I will request our International Affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho from studio. He will share with you the breaking news going on right this moment in all international medias.
A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Rashid Kanchan, and of course we will see Norman Floyd Barnes joining us. But ladies and gentlemen, let me begin today's discussion with the top news. We have Belgium, who will recognize Palestine as a state in the UN General Assembly in New York later this month. Of course, this was said by Foreign Minister Maxime Prevot. Belgium's decision comes as several countries, including France, the UK, Canada and Australia, announcing similar plans to recognize Palestine during the General Assembly. Alongside, we see Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin holding talks in Beijing. Of course, this was during the Shanghai Cooperation Council's 25th summit. And alongside, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will be among the state leaders from 26 countries attending the military parade in Beijing on Wednesday. And in addition, US President Donald Trump said he is surprised to see that Israel's once strongest lobby in Congress no longer holds the same sway as growing numbers of Americans. Both Democrats and Republicans voiced criticism of the Israeli army's deadly offensive in Gaza. Safe to say that the Americans are slowly starting to grow a conscience in this matter.
Right, sir. There are so many things in my hand as well. Thank you very much for your latest updates. Let me begin with Washington. Norman Floyd Barnes, our geopolitical correspondent based in Washington, who covers White House, Oval Office, Congress and Senate as well. Let me tell you the updates first. Russia-Ukraine war. Diplomatic friction continues. Putin claimed an understanding was reached with Trump at their Alaska summit regarding ending the Ukraine conflict. Though Russia continues its offensive in response, US officials are preparing further sanctions. My question to you, Norman, is despite claims of a peace understanding between Putin and Trump, Russia continues its offensive. How credible are these peace efforts? Mr. Norman?
Yes, good morning from Washington.
Good morning.
The siege is continuing to progress with Russia and Ukraine. They have a plan that is appearing to basically move forward. The situation here in Washington D.C. is basically the administration is now looking at the possibility that this and potential peace may be delayed. It appears that the issue again about NATO is coming a very sticky point about Ukraine. A session with being involved with NATO is coming a focal point to the point Putin mentioned it at the summit in Shanghai that additional outside sources need to be eliminated, which is perpetrating the war and this thing about the expansion of NATO. So that issue is appears to be a problem that is going to cause a delay, if not a derailment of the peace initiative.
Norman, I'll come to you for NATO's response on Russia's recent escalation, but I must do a question to Mr. Shamsul Alam Pantho, our international affairs commentator. What impact could additional United States sanctions have on Russia's economy and its military campaign or military attack or military assault in Ukraine, sir?
This would be the first example where US mediation has not reaped any kind of outcomes or beneficial outcomes for any of the parties, whether it be Russia and if not Ukraine. In my analysis, I understand that the US was trying to get to a bilateral meet, and of course afterwards the US would join into a trilateral meet between Ukraine and Russia. However, Donald Trump is now changing his tactic. He is trying to move away from the situation between Europe and Russia. I say Europe and Russia because it's not just Ukraine that is facing the brass of the Russian strikes. We know earlier In this week, a large number of drone strike has happened, and a large attack has taken place in Ukraine, even in western Ukraine. Previously, we were talking about how eastern Ukraine and how some people were loyal to the Russian regime in the eastern flank, but at this moment in time we see that the western Ukraine is also taking some kind of pressure from the Russian attack. Of course, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said all options are on the table for further sanctioning on Russia. Of course, it was following an historic summit with President Donald Trump in Alaska. We know how that has happened, but over the weekend there was one important issue that I would like to pick out. We didn't see Donald Trump for 2 days. He was away from the media presence, and later we found out he was golfing in his Virginia golf course. But one of the things that has taken geopolitics by storm was the meeting between 3 significant leaders. I'll tell you who they are. It is Vladimir Putin of Russia, Narendra Modi of India, and of course Xi Jinping in China. And these 3 leaders were seen exchanging friendly talk, and they were laughing, especially Narendra Modi was laughing to the fact between the 3, and of course the translators were there from each and respective countries. But one thing that I noticed that how Donald Trump has stayed silent on this matter, and how Vladimir Putin, someone who is clearly the aggressor in this Ukraine-Russia war, is seen exchanging congratulatory talks between the leaders. Of course, this is a moment of understanding for the United States and how Donald Trump plans to see the remaining 3-4 months that are left of this year to understand how far this escalation is going to go.
Right, sir. I also have so much of updates on SCO summit in Tianjin in China. Number 1 is North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has reached China to meet the world leaders, and Erdogan from Turkey is there. Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif is there. I will definitely bring back the SCO summit. Now, I was talking with Norman that I will ask a question: how are NATO members responding to Russia's latest escalation, latest assault, latest attack, and its alliance unity under strain, Mr. Norman?
Yes, the European Union is to put it mildly, they are very concerned. This aggression is again another attempt by Russia to show that we are dominant and we are moving forward with our agenda. The agenda now has transformed concern with the EU, because they are looking at now that Putin is not going to stop with Ukraine. He's going to move forward across the whole region, that whole region. And the countries of the EU have to make a decision on, are they going to respond? Are they going to accept this? Or are they going to take some type of actions? They're talking about right now, talking about sanctions. We know sanctions for the United States hasn't worked with them, and additional sanctions from the EU may not have an effect on them. So right now they are preparing the military for some type of defensive mode. They're looking at defending themselves because they fear that Russia is going to move their aggression across the whole continent. So that is the biggest concern right now, exactly what is going to happen and how do we defend ourselves for this type of onslaught.
Excellent, Mr. Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C. As our international affairs specialist, Shamsul Alam Panto has raised the issue of SCO summit. At the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO summit in Tianjin, President Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin reaffirmed a united front advocating for a new global governance system and pushing back against US influence. The meeting, also attended by Narendra Modi, Indian Prime Minister, underscored cooperation in infrastructure, technology and energy, with Xi announcing the creation of an SCO development bank and 1.4 billion in loans and grants. My question to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Panto: how important is India's balancing act between the West and Russia, China in shaping future global order? Because we have to remember, sir, China and India has a border clash since last 90 years.
Thank you for the question. It's quite so important. Let me begin by saying that the leaders that have met in the Shanghai Cooperation Council, we slowly start to see a movement away from the one world order that America or United States of America had imposed from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in 1920. And up until that, it's been quite the century, and especially this year, 2025, has immense significance in geopolitics. Why I say this is because we know that India and China had border territorial disputes between the respective armies of the two countries. However, there was one notion in which India and China may choose to become better friends or choose dialogue over conflicts between one another. It was when America had decided for a 50% tariff on India that had made, which had made India to think otherwise and look towards its territories and in its neighborhood. Of course, relationships between India and its immediate neighborhoods, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, and everyone else in this region, they're not working towards any kind of fruitful conversation between these countries. However, they have chosen China as a mean to understand how to tackle this tariff issue with United States. So in another sense, the America has helped India and China to once again become a friendly nation between one another. Now this is very significant as India is trying to balance its economic and foreign policy ties. I'm sure that the Belt and Road Initiative even of China and how it has made sure that India also follow through, even having a rival like Pakistan at the summit. Even though both the respective leaders of both countries were far away from one another, they are enemies. They have gone into war earlier this year. But they came to the understanding of China, and China is trying to play the part which we infamously know America used to do before. So one can say that China is becoming the secondary world dominant power immediately after the US.
According to your question, this morning I was talking with one of the journalists from London. He was asking me, why don't you discuss one thing? BRICS will lead anti-American allies. Who will lead BRICS? Is it Russia or China? Small answer, sir.
These are two giant countries. Their militaries are not comparable to even our country. Not only so, the BRICS and the nations combined, their united goal would be to remove their dependency on the dollar and how they would trade amongst one another in their own currencies. Of course, this is marked to be looked at by the American authorities, the Federal Reserve, if not. But yes, it wouldn't just be one leader who is calling the shots. It would be all the leaders coming to a united solution. One of the examples that the SCO had called for was a ceasefire in Gaza, and they look forward to a just solution to the Palestinian issue. So they are trying to look at worldwide issues which are outside of their boundaries as well.
I have gone to the ChatGPT to ask this question before I enter into the show, and ChatGPT has given a wonderful reply. Economically, China will lead the BRICS. Militarily, Russia will take the lead because of Russia's position and atomic situation. So let us go to Washington once again. Mr. Norman, at the SCO summit, Mr. Xi Jinping and Putin pushed for a new global governance system. Is this a realistic challenge to Western-led institutions like United Nations or NATO or European Union or individually United States of America? I know it is a tough question for you at this stage.
Yes, this is a very interesting question. I appreciate the question. And from my observation, it appears to be very valid. The situation with the tariffs, the support of Ukraine, support of Gaza has basically pushed these countries, led by China. They have strategically taken their differences and combined to have a new enemy. It appears to be the United States is basically in opposition to what they want to do. So we're looking at a new, what we call alternative leadership now, a tripod of countries, a unified response to what's going on in the world. So basically what they're saying is that we don't have to take this. We have enough resources, enough countries. We are large countries. We are powerhouses. So we are the alternative. We don't have to worry about the one party, one person system controlling our destiny for the future. So I see this thing has momentum. They have publicly put this out. Right now it's basically symbolic, but there may be something behind this that may be of concern to the western part of the world.
Mr. Norman, according to you, you have allowed me to create another question for you. What messages is China sending by showcasing hypersonic missiles, ICBMs and artificial intelligence driven drones at its military parade? Is Washington watching it?
Yes, yes, yes. I said 3 times, yes. This is a very, if you look at it, it's almost a mirror situation. We had the show of our bombers in Alaska. So what we're going to see is a show of force from China. China is inviting actually North Korea, and everybody's coming over there to watch this show. This show is going to be something we have never seen before. It's going to show the impact of the weapons, technology, and most importantly, we are communicating and we are united. So we're looking at a united front. You're going to see a lot of faces. You're going to see a lot of technology. And yes, the world will be watching, and particularly here in Washington. Let's see.
Norman, your reply is so much smart that I did not find any pinpoint to ask you one more questions regarding this. Let's come back to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho, very smart guy. I want to talk about India depends ties with Russia amid US tariffs. Indian Prime Minister Modi and President Putin reaffirmed a special and privileged relationship. I repeat, special and privileged relationship. Their coordination comes as the US implements step tariffs 50% on Indian imports, primarily over energy imports from Russia. India depend its energy security strategies, citing a global oil market stability. Putin is expected to visit India in December to continue strategic talks. My question would be, India is in a position doing business with Russia, doing business with China, doing military strategy with Russia, doing military strategy with China. Ultimately, India is gaining power. Do you think India would be next superpower?
Thanks for the question. Although I'm not in a position to answer whether or not India to become a superpower or not, but I could definitely say that America has made sure that India have a roadmap, and India have a positive relationship with its allies China and Russia, and of course they are allied through the BRICS. And not only so, at this moment I understand that climate change is one of the issues that not just India, it's also Bangladesh and Pakistan that are facing. But coming back to your initial question, America has made sure of this friendly relationship between the countries, even though they have had border clashes and each other's armies physically beating up one another, and that has happened over the 2018 and 17 clashes at the border. And even though there are territorial disputes, they are now looking towards friendship and mutual respect between one another. Definitely military balance, but you look at America, their initial step was mediation between Ukraine and Russia. This mediation attempt bear no kind of fruit. immediately afterwards, the war room tactic of the American administration turned to how else can we stop this Russian aggression? And that is when America has decided, all right, if it was for crude oil export to India, and if that was how Russia remained profitable even after facing American sanctions, maybe it is time we attacked, or we chose to imply a 50% tariff on India, and that has happened. And what are the outcomes in this regard? It was India having a much more reliance on Russia and vice versa. And this is a very dangerous time in world geopolitics. One can definitely assume that America is now coming to a point where it has no friends. 70 nations that has America had tariffed. And there is an escalation in the Caribbean. I picked it out on Sunday's show. If definitely Nicolas Maduro's Venezuela, if they chose to have into this grouping between the BRICS nations, it would definitely be something to watch out for, definitely for the American administration.
Sir, just for your information, yesterday you were in leave from the show,
Yes.
and one very high breakthrough has gone. Norman has given us a breaking news that President Donald Trump is seriously considering to quit his engagement from the peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. As you missed the show, do you have any question? Is there any update to Norman?
Well, I could definitely ask Mr. Norman Floyd Barnes, who is in America, if America were to leave themselves out from Ukraine and Russia, do you think that it would be up to Recep Tayyip Erdogan's Turkey to once again carry forward these negotiations? I'm sure that you know that they were trying to host both of these leaders.
My response is one of well, I consider the efforts put upon the United States by Russia, with the aggression and with the constant pressure on the United States, is to convince Ukraine to surrender. They're putting pressure on it. Matter of fact, he's getting pressure from from the people itself. They're considering that we do not approve of exactly what you're doing. Only 51% of actually 40% of the United States approve total of what he's doing so far up to the work. What type of how he's running the country, how he's dealing with world issues. The tariffs issue, 51% of the United States say he's gone too far. Too far. It's causing a lot of stuff going on. We have protests all over the United States yesterday, and they are not happy. The people are not happy the way things are happening. They think that basically he's pushing too far. He's causing internal problems, external problems, and he's not helping the situation. He's making it worse, and the people feel that they will suffer from this globally.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to go for a short break. Before going to the short break, I have some breaking news need to share with you. With over 800 dead in Afghanistan earthquake, how effective is international disaster response in conflict zones? This is a big question to the world humanitarian organizations. On the other side, Sudan's Darfur landslide reportedly killed 1,000 people. Are African disasters being underreported compared to other regions? This is also another question, because every human life is important. We are coming back from a short commercial break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin from Washington. Norman is there. Mr. Norman, the Trump administration remains firm on sanctions, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stalling that all options are open on the table, what our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho also raised. For new sanctions on Russia amid continued aggression in Ukraine. He also criticized India for buying and reselling Russian oil, hinting that it may influence ongoing trade talks. My question is to you. President Trump faces health rumors also while juggling a potential government shutdown. How stable is his domestic position? I want to relate the question. I have read out the international affairs news going on regarding Russia and India and trade, but he is facing turmoil in inside politics, inside administration, and somebody said federal service might be shut down soon. What is your comment on that? You are just near to federal service stations.
Yes, the pressure, to put it mildly, the pressure is very intense. There's growing concerns about the strategy and overall tactics. Like I mentioned before, the approval rating is not where it should be. Matter of fact, he has the lowest rating of any president in the last 4 decades right now in his time. Protests are high. The people are pressuring. We got a midterm coming up. They are pressuring their legislators to basically tell the president, back off. You're too intense. You're causing too much problems. We are going to suffer from this. Our international partners are concerned about the relationship developing with Putin, and they are concerned whether or not we are going to stand by them. The issue with Ukraine is one of confusion to people that, yes, we're going to back Ukraine, but to what extent? We're not going to put troops in, but we will provide what? They don't know exactly what that means and how it's going to happen and what effect Putin's pressure on Trump will have on this overall outcome. So the aggression, the military moving forward is also putting pressure on Washington to act, to make some action. They want this thing ended. They want a conclusion. So the pressure is to put on the president, to put on the Ukraine administration to basically surrender. I say surrender, but basically come to a conclusion where we can end this aggression and get to some type of peaceful terms.
Mr. Norman, somebody says President Donald Trump loves to play golf, and he himself says golf is fun. Do you think presidency is also fun? Because he is putting his feet and hands in different issues like Russia, Ukraine, very warning issue, like playing with China, playing with tariffs with India. Do you think he will actually lose all the game? Because what is the likely outcome of Trump's sweeping tariff policies now being challenged in his own country by the Supreme Court? This is a red alarm for him. Mr. Norman.
Yes, as I mentioned before, the courts are now stating that most of the tariffs are illegal. What that means is basically there's a potential, if it goes to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court upholds the lower courts, that the funding, the money that we're making, and I mentioned before, so far we have $142 billion so far been collected. It appears that if the court ruling upholds itself, we will have to put that at least $100 billion back to the people. They have to give the money back. Some people are saying this may bankrupt the United States. I'm not sure about that, but it will cause hardship. And Congress, the people will not tolerate that. They will not tolerate that type of situation. So we are looking at a real serious situation. The pressure is on. So there will be a lot of changing of attitudes by the administration because, again, we have a midterm coming up, and that is when they will respond.
Let me get the response from our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pamto. Everything, every policy, every person has some limit of strength and capacity, ability.
Yes.
My question is, how could Trump's threat, I use the word threat, of 30 to 35% tariffs on the European Union countries, Mexico and Canada, reshape US global trade relations? They are losing friends.
One can lose its friends based on such a tariff package, and of course the ties that it was previously when we used to look at the media, we used to see United States and the allies. And who were these allies? These definitely were the countries based in Europe, and of course this tariff that he's playing, to some extent, we are very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate for us to hear that the U.S. administration has taken a role of a corporate language. Today we see there is a shake-up in the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and there have been widespread protests because Director Susan Monares was fired, and her deputy Jim O'Neill has been named as the acting director. This is a move that triggered an exodus of senior CDC scientists raising concern about eroding scientific research and integrity in the agency. Today these words as fired is being openly seen between government organizations and those who are serving the government in America. Of course, we also see that various position holders in America is also losing their jobs because of the one-handed response by Donald Trump's administration. And not only so, we see a notable move. On 29th August, Donald Trump had rescinded former Vice President Kamala Harris's extended Secret Service protection, which previous leaders of the state will definitely have the Secret Service protection, but this time around he has rescinded such a protection package, and this has sparked criticism and prompting state security discussions in California. Much more of what you see internationally and how America is playing on the international field, a new growing concern that is happening is inside America. And even not just that, even now in a couple of weeks or days maybe, the America might see itself in a position trying to going into a confrontation with Venezuela. I've been commenting about this. I don't see any other reason other it be a political intention from United States to target Venezuela, to remove its leader Nicolas Maduro, and definitely there are three things that are of significance here. The immense oil reserves that Venezuela has, the drug trafficking issue that America is trying to make it issue, and of course, if there was to be a fighting between in the South Caribbean, it would not only destabilize the Caribbean, it would make sure that the entirety of America's North, Central and South become destabilized as well. So these are the issues that America definitely needs to once again understand. And as Norman Floyd Barnes was saying, that his popularity as the POTUS, as President of the United States of America, is definitely on the decline.
Exactly, sir. I will have one little debate today with you from the same very stations. My question would be later, is Donald Trump running so fast? I want to go to Washington one more time. That Donald Trump is has been selected based on 5 questions among the American people. Question number 1, it was, who gonna face Vladimir Putin's and its aggression? Question number 2, who gonna face Xi Jinping, I mean China's trade war? Who gonna create more jobs inside America? Who gonna control American gun violence or domestic violence? And last question was, who is going to be the boss of United States? Because American people thought America doesn't need a leader, they need a boss. So in this base, American people selected Donald Trump as their president. My question to Norman, are you happy now?
Oh, that's a question. No, no one is happy. Even even his Republican Party, they are concerned that all of these promises has not come to fruition. A lot of things has happened. I believe that the speed in which things are being put out there is premature, too fast. Coming in a new administration, there's usually a 6-month adjustment period where we transition. This administration came in and they're basically cleaning house and starting from anew. By doing that, you make a lot of mistakes. It takes time to mellow out and deal with that. Unfortunately, these mistakes has ramifications all over the world. You want to do a lot of things and you want to do a lot of things fast. The world doesn't work that way. I mean, you try to force feed someone, people are going to resist. Some of the stuff may be good. In the long run, there's an agenda, there's a positive part somewhere there. But right now, people are hurting and they can't understand and they will not digest this force feeding. So right now, you're getting a lot of pushback, a lot of resistance. But if people be patient, and if some of these programs would just slow down and communicate with the people exactly what your ultimate goal is versus these knee-jerk reactions, things will be a lot better. So right now we're going through a phase of finding out who we are, what we can do, what the people want, and what the world will tolerate. So right now it's a learning phase. Believe it or not, second term, but we're still learning on exactly how to navigate the global market and the world. So a lot of mistakes is going to be made. Hopefully these things will rectify itself. But right now we are stumbling and we are struggling.
All right, Mr. Norman, my last question to you. To what extent can Trump leverage sanctions and tariffs to influence conflicts like Ukrainian and Gaza? I'll give you only 30 seconds because you have time limitation, sir.
Yes, it appears that our involvement with these two areas has basically caused the rest of the world to come together and talk about an alternative. They're trying to figure out, okay, they have a plan that they want to force feed. We do not have to take it. So other countries are talking about how we can work around and look at exactly what the strategy is of the United States and do a alternative. So right now what we're going to see is options. China's come out. Russia is accommodating. India is playing into it. North Korea is waiting to see what's happening. So we are looking at changes of the transition. So
all right, Mr.
there will be adjustment.
All
there
right,
will be
Mr.
adjustments.
All right, Mr. Norman, huge gratitude to you for your very valuable insights to our show today. I really appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be coming back after the short break to the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep watching SATV. Israeli forces killed a senior Hamas official in Gaza and reportedly conducted an airstrike in Yemen that killed the Houthi prime minister and several cabinet members. I just want to go to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho, who has the latest information about the Israel-Gaza situation. My question would be, sir, with leading genocide scholars declaring Israel's Gaza campaign as genocide, how might this reshape international legal and diplomatic pressure for Israel, or Israel doesn't care?
Impending issue, and an issue that has not seen any kind of outcome or a solution or a pause or a ceasefire for that matter. And of course, an airstrike had killed the Houthi-backed prime minister in Yemen, and of course they had retaliated, saying that they will seek revenge for their fallen members, and it will definitely be against Israel. Many of the world tabloids, even today, this morning, and even last night, were saying that the tanks Israel military push has intensified. A large-scale ground invasion with up to 60,000 reservists is set to take place as heavy tanks and explosive-laden vehicles have penetrated deeper into the Gaza city, triggering mass displacement of civilians. How many civilians, to be exact? Almost 1 million people. Whether or not Egypt, surrounding Jordan, surrounding Syria are in a place to accommodate 1 million people is a matter of concern. You know, the last time Bangladesh has faced 1 million people exodus from Myanmar was quite the turmoil, even as corporate social responsibility of our company was to help these guests. In our eyes, it was
for our audience.
Guests.
I just want to add, SA Group of companies and its very humble managing director has done a lot for the Rohingya people when they came to Bangladesh. We really appreciate his support to the community.
And in addition, today we see a mass exodus or of something similar happening to the innocent women and children and the families that have been affected in this bombardment of Gaza city. And of course, history says that this infighting between the two factions, Palestinian if not Israeli, these are the labels one another gives them. Religion does play a part in these notions between the two factions. But increasingly, you know, this month is the month of the United Nations General Assembly, and you know, I picked it out on Sunday. You weren't here, but we know that Mahmoud Abbas, Mahmoud Abbas has been blocked from going to United States, which the last time that has happened was when with Yasser Arafat, even back in the day. But I still don't see any kind of agreement or understanding between anyone in the world plateau to address this issue, and no one is batting an eye for Israel, and what it is doing is going into a territory which is not retaliating back directly. Definitely there could be a corridor to stop this heinous attack. We know that multiple times when foreign journalists, activists have tried to open up the naval blockade of Gaza Strip, it was definitely foiled by the Israeli military. And this time around, a flotilla carrying activists and humanitarian aid to Gaza had departed Barcelona's port late Monday. And of course, there are now not just one ship, it is 20 ships carrying 300 people and carrying multiple backgrounds of people, multiple faiths of people, trying to move this blockade of the Gaza Strip. I'm not sure how far it will go, but knowing and looking back at the history, I'm sure that there could be a retaliation between Israel and these ships that are carrying these activists. They're carrying goods, they're carrying the rehabilitation products, food aid. So definitely they're coming, the world is trying to understand this situation. Conscience is growing, and even earlier on in the show, Donald Trump's position, as he's surprised, both Republicans and Democrats are coming into the same notion. They have grown a conscience in which they understand that this attack is heinous and it has no kind of benefit, and the word genocide would be an understatement. It wouldn't be enough to describe what has taken place on the ground in Gaza.
Sir, one question always comes in my mind, but it doesn't match with our discussion sometimes. Today, I found something very interesting in your statements. So I want to raise the question. You say medical science is developing, technology is developing. This is the artificial intelligence age right this moment. Economy is developing. Why the mindset of the world leaders are not developing to improve the human life, to stop the war, to stop the invasion, to stop hitting each other? Why, sir?
It's a very broad statement that you have given me, but let me come back to a specific month and a specific year. December 2019. The world was going through its normal phase. No one had understood what would take place ever since January of 2020. And in my statement, what I'm trying to say is we weren't ready. Humans were not ready to understand what the novel coronavirus was. And that has taken to storm ever since 2020, and up until today, we understand that we still aren't ready to face the next pandemic. You know, worldwide philanthropy and philanthropist Bill Gates had claimed just 6 months after, almost into August of 2020, he said we are still not ready for the next pandemic or for the next epidemic, if you would like to say, disease and control. We know the world population is increasing, and the disparity between such communities, between various ethnicities, are changing. Let me add on here, we see climate change, how it has affected not just humans alike, but various world countries and organizations. Today we see torrential rainfall making sure that the state of Punjab in Pakistan is facing massive floods, internally displaced millions of people, and of course the government in Pakistan is trying their level best to understand how to reel back from a natural calamity. Not only so, an earthquake of 6.5 magnitude has shaken the Taliban government in Afghanistan, even though they are trying their level best to figure out the exact toll numbers or how many people have lives have been lost in this tragedy. And of course, as you were mentioning, Darfur, Sudan, a landslide has claimed over 1,000 people. So these are the things that are not controlled by the humanly powers. These are controlled by other factors. And of course, one thing is to note the sweltering heat of this summer, not only in Bangladesh, but not only in the tropics, but also well into Europe. This has been the hottest year on record, and world leaders continue to ignore the fact that this is the greatest, if not the worst, event that will take place in the coming days.
Sir, our foreign friends and foreign viewers often ask us, why don't you give us the updates of your national aspects? I'll come back to that issue as we are running out of time. I want to do a last question to you. With growing criticism of United Nations inability to prevent conflicts and humanitarian crisis in both sides, is its credibility at an all-time low?
To look towards foreign answers or to look forward to any kind of intention from the United Nations or and its various councils, they have a goal to unify the entire globe in addressing worldwide issues. However, if you look at Bangladesh, we have a refugee crisis that is happening here ever since 2018. Almost 1 million people have moved in from the Rakhine state into Cox's Bazar, and they have makeshift refugee camps, which the United Nations every now and then are definitely monitoring. And the current administration, Chief Advisor Mohammed Yunus, he has visited there even with Antonio Guterres of the United Nations earlier on this year. And we must understand that there is a military control that was controlling Myanmar up until earlier on in August, and now they're set to have an election in December. But what are their views, narratives, comments on the matter that they have ethnically cleansed the minority Muslims, Rohingyas that were living in Rakhine, and they have pushed them to Bangladesh? It's not Bangladesh's responsibility. We have failed back in 2018. Yes, it is a humanitarian corridor, humanity in general that has allowed these 1 million people coming into our land. Now, the corridor issue that we continuously discuss, humanitarian corridor, we must understand where the government of Myanmar tries to, what is their narrative on this issue before we can look forward to goals like repatriation. So once again, reiterating United Nations, in recent times, their intention towards worldwide issues remained very faltering, in my opinion.
All right, sir. Let us give some updates about the domestic Bangladesh news to the world viewers of SATV's International Affairs. As I have been sometimes asked to give it, request comes to me to give it. Sir, you know, one of the leading political party, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, is celebrating their 47th anniversary. Do you think the people of Bangladesh's people's aspiration is fulfilled by the politicians or political parties, though political parties' anniversary, 47th anniversary is going to celebrate? This is a broader question, I know. I need a little answer.
I'll try to give you a very little answer, as we're definitely running out of time. But definitely decision making is quite so important. Previously, when any kind of political party held a rally in Dhaka city, it had made sure Dhaka city had become somewhat handicapped. Traffic would not be moving, the businesses would not be making any kind of decisions. People were seen losing hours trying to get to the banks. But this time around, on its 47th celebrations, increasingly the tabloids in Bangladesh are definitely saying that this time around they are not holding such a massive rally, but they are pointing their institutional party followers to look towards cleaning up the canals and the rivers that constitute inside Dhaka. So this is definitely a first to come to serve its people, even though they are not in charge of the government as of yet. But it does create a sense of notion that they are taking responsibility to the haphazards of society, which is quite so important, and it is a great step forward into understanding what the people need and what the people's mandates are.
I really appreciate you, sir. We are absolutely running out of time. Before just going to say goodbye, I just want to say today is the birthday of legendary NFL quarterback and now a popular sports commentator, Brad Shaw, celebrates today as well. On the other side, we have many world notable personalities' birthday. We want to say happy birthday from SATV's International Affairs. I appreciate our viewers. I appreciate Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington and Samsul Alam Panto, our international affairs specialist from the studio. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you tomorrow.